A second. Good evening. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the board to be here. We missed maybe a couple of them. They'll be pretty soon. They'll be back from wherever they are. Okay, my name is Gino Ferraroni. At the moment, I'm just chairman of the board of health, and you have something to tell me?
Yep, we can start while we're waiting for the other members to show up. I wanted to bring up our stable permits.
Okay.
So currently, we have anybody in town who has a horse, whether it's 1 or 50, fills out a stable permit. And there's an animal control officer that goes out and inspects the stables, and there has to be a manure disposal plan in effect. We have not had, it's an annual permit, like a dog license, so I'm about to send out renewal forms, and since this is the first year I've done it, I looked at the fee, which has not changed since like the early 80s, and it's still $5, which doesn't even cover the postage, let alone any administrative work for it. So I made some phone calls to surrounding towns to find out what they are charging for stable permits. And if they do inspections the way we do, then the fees range anywhere from $50 to $100. Chelmsford's $50 for renewals, $100 for an initial stable permit, Westford $65. Acton's in the process of changing their fee, but it's going to be in that range. So I thought maybe we could bring these. I'm not saying we should go make a big jump up to 50, but even if we brought it up to $20, it would be at least not a joke. Yeah.
A question, what is the process that this committee follows when it raises a fee? Does this fee, since it involves a change in the way that in effect this committee would operate in terms of, for this item, can we unilaterally change the fee, or does it have to go through the Board of Selectmen and anyone else?
No, it's just you folks.
Hi.
How are you? Lisa.
Yes. Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, it's just
us.
for you folks.
Okay.
We've got about 20 folks with horses in town, ranging from 1 horse up to 60 horses. Some of those have, 6 of them also have donkeys. So you can also choose to do a fee, a lower fee if you only have 1 to 10 horses, and a different fee for 10 to 100 horses,
Sliding scale.
So a sliding scale, or you can just do it as a flat. But we're not even covering the costs of. I've already spent 3 hours on stable permits, and then all of the postage fees. $5. We haven't changed it since 1982. $5 stable fee.
Next, what in fact are the total costs of the process, as we now have, exclusive of the fees that come in, what does it cost to do the process?
I've never done the whole process so far, and I've only spent the 2 hours so far. I've got more hours once the letters have gone out. The letters at this point have not gone out.
It might be appropriate to have the young lady to come here. That we
What
can,
lady?
whoever visit.
Oh, the animal control?
Right.
She's a regional person that we sort of subcontract out
Is
to.
there any way we can consult with her a little bit? And let's say, for instance, 10 horses.
She's not paid directly by us.
Okay, let's say, for instance, somebody has 10 horses, right? If we do like $5 for each horse, it would be 50.
Horses, the number of horses change all the time
Yeah.
too at barns.
So it's,
So
yeah,
But-
so even
It should
from.
be like a range.
Excuse me, I'd like to make a motion, give you an opportunity to collect data and information, and we can do another meeting to cover this
Before you
topic.
make a motion.
Well, I need to send
She already did.
I have to send out the notices, so if we're either doing $5 for this year, and we're not gonna raise it again till
Right.
next year, or we choose to bump it up a little bit now for this year's payment. And,
I make a motion, we bump it up to $25 for this year and maybe slowly increase it
It doesn't matter how many
coming
horses you have.
years.
you know,
That's what I say, it'd be appropriate to consult the animal control, because she doesn't.
she's not part of the Littleton fee. She doesn't pay, she works for all of the towns.
Yeah, yeah.
So all of the towns have different fees, so she's not gonna,
I open for the members, but the question is, $25, I think I'd be fine, but they have to make a decision.
Missed the beginning part of the
So
conversation.
tell Lisa what
Right.
the
So-
research you've already done.
Right.
She's
so
done some-
the surrounding towns either don't do inspections and so don't charge anything,
Right,
or their ranging of fees ranges from $50 a stable to $100 a stable. We,
Depending on how many horses they have.
no, just
$25 would be
just as a flat, like a dog license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We charge $5, which isn't even covering our postage.
Until we know the actual costs. I mean, I understand that you have a deadline to reach, but to raise fees just because everyone else does without knowing where we're heading or the rationale for it doesn't seem to be prudent.
Do we do inspections?
The animal control does inspections,
But
because there
they're
has
not
to be
paid for it.
a manure,
Right.
and then, but Jim reviews all of the stable permits to make sure that the stables are appropriate and the manure disposal
disposed,
is in effect, and
I would say that it requires a little bit more looking into, and then maybe warn them that prices are going up next year, and that it'll depend on how many stalls you have and how many horses you plan on having, or animals in general.
In 1 year, they might have 10, the next year, they might have only 8, so you report. Or
So
maybe
you have
they
like 5, you have
Right,
1 to
right,
10, and then
right.
10 to 25, and then
Right, right.
25 and up, you have a
I
different.
have a motion that we, on the floor, to, not table, but delay further discussion pending collection of information about actual costs.
Any second?
Second?
You can only make a motion.
I know,
for
I'm
second.
waiting for some of the seconds.
I guess what costs are we having her look up?
We have, first of all, the actual population of what we're dealing with is still not clear,
this
right?
is the population. We
Of
have
what we're
that
dealing with,
information
but we don't have a summary of it in terms of distribution. Number two, the other thing is, we don't know the effect, although it doesn't, you would think $50 a year would not be onerous for certain stables. We don't know what the economic effect is, and the town is trying to encourage agriculture and animal husbandry, so I think that we ought to at least be, as it were, aware and have some basis for changing fees, even if it's minor.
Well, that, and you can also, like, tell them that, you know, be aware that these might change, because you haven't gone up since the 80s, and that we'll, you know, maybe ask them to come in, and we can discuss it with the people from the state, like have a public hearing for them, explain to them why we're gonna be raising fees. Okay, so I guess I second
Yep.
that, just a little bit more discussion, a little bit more,
Okay, all in favor?
information.
All in favor? For the motion, the second? I think you want to say.
She seconded it.
I know, I said, all in favor?
Aye.
That's what I said.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay.
7:05, if they're not
Thank
here.
Are you
So
7:05?
you want to do the?
Yeah, so they're not,
Workers' credit
they're
union?
not coming, it's just for you to make the change that
Okay.
town council asked you to make on workers' credit union.
So for Workers' Credit Union, I move to modify the variance granted to Workers' Credit Union to eliminate conditions numbers 1, 2, and 5.
Is it a
Condition
motion?
1
Yep.
is occupying only 44,000 square feet.
Right.
Condition 2 is
60.
signing an agreement with the town to connect to the town sewer once installed, subject to approval of town council, applicant, town officials, and health agent. And condition 5 is executing a signed agreement with the town administrator. So those 3 will be eliminated.
Okay. I hear a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You have to.
I can't believe
do anything
I
yet.
can't believe
Now, 11 George Street. Are you?
Is Joan coming too? Or Joan coming?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Okay, let's see if it is.
So I have the variances that I'm looking for. I made copies of everyone who wants them. There's
Thank
3
you.
variances.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have you signed, did you sign in?
Yes, my wife did.
Yes, he did.
Put both the names. So I'm Doug Smith from Sawyer Smith Designs, and did this plan for a house on George Street. It's a very small lot, about 100 by 125, so it's 0.28 acres. The Title V didn't pass, so they needed a new system. And what I designed was a Presby system. There's a blow-up of it here. And it fit in with the Littleton regulations of being the fill over the 10 feet and all that. I was able to do that. So it's going to have a brand new tank, 1,500 gallon, 1,000 gallon pump chamber, and then the Presby system. But to get it to all fit, I did have to ask for a couple of variances. The first variance had to do with the perk test. We did that back in, let's see what month it was. It was October 2018. A little bit too wet to do the perk, so I had to send the lab sieve analysis to the lab to get a test done. So that's the first variance. The second one is the separation. Instead of the 4 feet required by DEP, we went with the 2-foot reduction, so the base of the sand bed is 24 inches above water table. And that allows it to fit in the property once you get the 15-foot breakout all around, and you know, that without causing trouble with water heading towards the basement and boundary line issues, that type of thing. And then when Jim reviewed the plan, he suggested I put the third variance in just to be safe, and that's got to do with the tank inlet and outlet being at least 12-inch separation between there and the water table. And so I did all the calculations. It seems like it's okay, but he figured put it in just in case, so when they go to put the tank and the pump in, if there's a couple inches missing, you know, we can recover. And it is going to be a monolithic tank for the pump chamber, and these tanks do come with a rubber boot, so I'm pretty comfortable with that.
You serve with town water too, right?
It is on town water, yes.
Well, according to,
Do you want to read Jim's notes? Want me to read them?
I don't have to read the whole thing, but I can read the final. The request will allow the proposed system to fit on the site, minimizing the need of fill. This will reduce the potential for surface runoff into abutting
minute, wait a
lots. What?
Yeah, you're
George
supposed to.
Street.
Yeah, you got to read the whole thing, Gina.
Oh, boy.
Want me to do it?
I do it, jeez. man. No respect, huh?
Just go.
The existing sewage system, this disposal system for this site, is a seasonal high water table and therefore in failure. Am I correct?
Correct.
The applicant is looking for replace the system, and soil testing was conducted in preparation of plan for a replacement sewage system disposal system. The site condition present challenge to the design of a system in full compliance with Title V, seasonal I water table, small lot, and I perk. How small is the lot?
It's .28 acres, about 12,000 square feet. It's basically 100 by 125.
The design present the Board of Health require local upgrade approval, reduction of the groundwater offset to the bottom of the leaching area and to the tank outlet. The use of the seed analysis in lieu of a perk test. The request will allow the proposed system to fit on the site, minimize the need for fill. This will reduce the potential for service runoff into abutting lots and the existing house. The site is served by town water, and there is no wetland within 100 feet, am I correct?
Correct.
Of the proposed leaching area. I believe the proposed design provide a reasonable solution for the site, and I don't have an issue with the request. Everybody happy now? Did I read the whole thing? Okay, you're set.
How many bedrooms?
It's a 3-bedroom. Like a
Well-
Cape-style house.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Any butters here at all?
No? I think there's no problem.
So it's in the backyard.
It is in the backyard. This is George Street here, driveway. Water line comes in here.
Small lot, but not that small.
And there is actually a drainage also, and it's a pipe.
Yeah.
So it fits right in there, nice
Nice and tight.
and tight, nothing extra.
Are there other neighbors?
Yeah, there's a boundary line here, there's a neighbor's house here. He has also a mound about the same height in the back here, and then there's another big system that went in on a different road in the back. That just got constructed last year, I noticed, when I was doing all my work. I can't remember the name of that road. But,
And who's, what's, there's a system related to the house here, or?
no, there's a house, I think about in here, and a big system that went in. I might be able to tell you what road it was from my map, I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess maybe Florence Street, but I'm not positive.
Mhm.
And then there's another house. Yeah, it's very congested neighborhood.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
it
that
is.
area.
It's all in that Long Lake
Yeah.
development.
Mhm.
Entertain a
Make a
motion?
motion to approve the plot plan for 11 George Street dated April 12th.
Did you see the seal there?
I do see the
Yep.
stamp.
Right there.
Okay.
Yep, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well done.
Well, thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I love your names, too. Soil Smiths,
Oh, thanks.
after your last name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good night, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. All right, now. King Street. You King Street?
Yes, sir.
Are you building 8 or 9 homes in that area?
We have 17 units.
17 two-bedroom units.
17?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this behind Weber's?
This is Weber's,
Okay.
yes. That's correct.
Ah.
17, huh?
Yes.
2 bedroom?
We've been kind of going at this for a year or so.
Fields still building it? Is that
Yes,
Fields?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
This is the first time I've heard, I mean, I know you guys came before us before,
Sure.
but this is
Well,
the
I'm
first
happy to
time.
give you the grand tour. Yeah.
Is this you? Is this you?
No, that is the company that is doing the advanced treatment that we're proposing. I'll go over that.
Okay.
My name's Greg Roy with Ducharme and Dillis, and I'm the civil engineer working on both the site plan and the septic plan that's before you this evening. And we're here before you for a Regulation 10 variance, a Regulation 10 from your local bylaw. But I thought before we got into that, I'd just give you a quick overview of where we've been over the past year or so. I know there's some new faces here, and and then I'll give you an overview of the system.
I don't think you guys came to us, did
We
you?
came informally, I think, last summer.
Very, yeah, very,
Folks asked us as part of the planning board process to come
Yeah.
before you to give you an idea of what's going on. About a year ago, we submitted an application for site plan approval, as well as an aquifer and watershed protection special permit, along with a senior residential development special permit to the planning board for 30 units. We had originally had a different site configuration. We had some quad plexes, 6-plex units, 8-plex, more of a townhouse type development. So we had more density proposed. I think it may have been still at 30 when we came before you
I
folks.
think it was.
Yeah. We had a lot of involvement, I think to say the least, with the planning board through that process, and ended up redesigning the project to what is before you this evening, which is 17 units. Each
Two
unit,
forms of egress,
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
that was an
And-
issue.
Yeah. So we have 17 two-bedroom units for a total of 34 bedrooms on the property. And we made some tweaks to the internal layout. We split, there was a feeling with the planning board that they didn't like the townhouse, row house style. So we went to a mix of duplex units and single units, which is what impacted the ability to get the density that we were originally proposing. The planning board did not age restrict this, so I mentioned this is a project that was designed pursuant to the Senior Residential Development Bylaw, which has no requirement for age restriction, which is related to ability for the town to get credit for affordable units in the development. We
This
can't,
is 40B?
it's not 40B,
Okay.
but there is an affordable component to it.
Okay.
And in order for the state to count those affordable units, it cannot be age restricted.
Okay.
And so I say that to you folks only because if it were to be age restricted, the flow for the wastewater would be 150 gallons per day per unit.
Right.
In this case, we did a more conservative look at this, and we did it per bedroom. So we used 110 gallons per day per bedroom. So it's actually 220 gallons per day per unit.
To be more safer. Yeah.
Correct, just in case we have, it's still a project that's targeted towards the over 55 population, but we didn't want to preclude
Right.
folks.
So
that
the septic system is very large, huh, for that?
So it's a septic system that's approximately 3,400 gallons per day. We've done the required soil testing. We actually did a little bit more supplemental testing last week with Jim as part of his review comments for the project. It's very good sand and gravel in the area.
Good.
The water table is at about 52 inches below grade in the area of the system. So we are in a mound. We do have to bring in some fill. Since it's over 2,000 gallons a day, we had to do groundwater mounding, so we've actually raised the system even
Little
higher
higher,
than the 5 foot that's otherwise required by Title V. So we laid this otherwise a pretty flat site, so we couldn't get gravity to a central location on the property. So we have a series of septic tank and pump chambers located throughout the site. There's 4 of them actually that pick up all the units. So each unit flows by gravity to a septic tank and a pump chamber, and then pumps over to the centralized treatment area that we have. So we have 4 of those remote septic tank pump chamber systems. They all pump into a centralized manhole and then to a settling tank that has about a 1-day storage capacity that provides some equalization prior to going into the treatment system. And what we're proposing, and we proposed this specifically because we knew we'd have to request a Regulation 10 variance, which is
Right.
relative to your aquifer and watershed protection district.
You have a nice pump there too, am I correct?
Yeah, and I'll go into the pump, the pressure distribution that we're proposing. But basically, we designed the site, the treatment system on the site, to provide the same level of nitrogen reduction that would otherwise be obtained by strict compliance with your regulations. So we asked Biomicrobics, which is the company that we selected for to do we use their treatment system, which has general use approval from the Department of Environmental Protection. And we asked them to provide us with a treatment system that would deliver 19 milligrams per liter of nitrogen. So we're reducing it down from what's around 70 of influent down to 19 milligrams per liter. So, and we've done that through two treatment processes, two tanks that are in series. The first tank is called a microfast tank, and both tanks are very similar. First is called microfast, second is called nutrifast. They're both sort of a fancy septic tank. They have some media in it that creates surface area for the bugs, for lack of a more technical term, to grow on. And there's an aeration system, so there's blowers that provide oxygen to keep the bugs working,
Alive.
right, alive. So we have the microfast tank, and then it flows into the nutrifast tank, which is a very similar setup. It has a blower, it has a tank with media. Microfast is very they don't have a lot of published information on what the difference is in those two tanks because it's a proprietary system. But I think it's a difference in the type of media that they have in there.
Right,
So
right.
it just provides an additional level of nutrient reduction to get you to the 19 milligrams per liter that we asked them to achieve. From there, we flow into the central pumping station, which will provide pressure dosing to the field. So unlike a smaller system where you'd pump to a D-box and then it would flow by gravity, this is actually going to pressurize the whole field at once and distribute the
It's
effluent.
amazing, all those houses, one area,
Right,
a lot of piping all the way around.
right.
How
A lot
big
of moving
how big
parts.
a pipe? 5 inches?
So I think the main pipe that we have here going from the pump chamber is a 3-inch diameter, which is a pretty good sized pipe. It's a lot of flow though
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
3-inch pipe under pressure.
In some instances, they use 5, but I'm surprised.
Yeah, we did that. We have 6-inch diameter when we on the gravity lines
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the tanks, and then for the force mains they're smaller diameter, but that's just because of the way the hydraulics work for the pumping.
It's amazing though, isn't it?
Right,
Now, if you had a sewage treatment, you'd have no problem.
right. If we had the right. So
Someday.
that is the basics. I know you have other stuff on the agenda, so I wanted to be brief and answer any questions that you folks might have.
So,
I'll leave it open to the members, if they have any questions.
I'll be happy to read, after the questions are over, I'll be happy to read.
yeah,
Sure, okay,
Yeah.
but
I-
you have questions first, so,
Yeah,
you know, fire away.
Could I just see the other half of the?
Oh, sure, yeah, I meant to, I thought about maybe doing
Side
an
by side?
overview of this, but, so this is just the match
Oh, I see,
information
okay.
there. So
yeah,
actually, all these units will go into this septic tank. So
Okay.
each septic tank has been sized to provide, they're each multi-compartment tanks in themselves. So they have 3 days of storage based on the flows tributary to each one.
And then it
In
goes.
each of these
Right.
locations?
Correct.
3 days, okay.
Yeah, this is a multi-compartment septic tank, so it has first chamber, 2 days of storage, second chamber, 1 day. And then it flows to the pump chamber, which pumps over to even more storage in the settling tank. So there's quite a bit of built-in settling time in the system.
Okay.
That's a good question. Sorry, I meant to show you that sheet.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question here?
Well,
Yes, sir.
This system, even from the description, is going to require, shall we say, professional attention.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And the part of it that struck me is the media that you're using in the tanks, because that's really the key to making this thing work.
Yes.
Pumps and all the pipes notwithstanding, it's the magic media.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So, is this requires a licensed individual and what is the projected maintenance rate?
Quarterly at least.
Quarterly?
What's a quarter? Right.
At least, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
You know, so the system will require inspection and sort of on-site oversight quarterly by the person licensed to operate and maintain that specific technology. And they'll have to be, actually, that was one of Jim's comments to us, is to provide a O&M plan and an actual contract from, to produce, to document that we've shown a contract for that.
And this is just, I want to make clear, who pays for the minimally quarterly maintenance?
It'll be the condominium association. So
Okay.
this project is a condominium. There'll be a master deed.
Do
which
they have a
has-
condo fee too?
There will be a condo fee,
Yeah.
yeah. So all of the amenities and all of the on-site
Services.
services, thank you,
Services.
will have condo fees that will cover those things, so. And the master deed will have the operation and maintenance plan built right into it, so everybody who buys a unit in there will have an understanding of what is required. So,
Provided
that's a
that
good
nothing
question.
happened for 20 years.
Well, we
You never know,
designed
right?
it to be that way, but, it's
And-
still,
yeah.
to your point, it needs to be operated and maintained.
And the other question I have is that these are two-bedroom units,
Yes, sir.
and therefore, given the load that represents, and the fact that you're trying to be conservative in reaching it,
Yep.
that means that amenities such as attics and finished,
Right.
I don't think you're going to deal with too much with basements. I think these are one-level
We're actually we're doing slabs on.
Slabs,
on
yeah.
these, Right,
So-
we had initially thought about basements, but they're
Okay,
looking at
that's,
slabs. right, so.
however, is there, the drawings I saw, I think there were peaks, but I didn't.
There are,
Yeah.
more from an architectural standpoint, I do not believe we're proposing any finished attic, and I know that's Jim, I think, has a,
Yeah, he has a
It might be
comment
in-
on
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Once
I didn't
again.
see his latest comments, but I
Yeah.
heard that he had some comments about that, so.
Yeah, you mentioned about
Yeah.
the attic, it'd be finished.
I don't believe so. And that-
So the idea here, I mean, this is not within our purview, but the idea here is to lock in the fact that these will always be just two-bedroom
Correct,
apartments and
yeah.
not resold at some future time.
Correct.
as-
Well, we can
More-
put
more
deed restrictions
bedroom,
on
no.
them.
Well, yeah,
Put a
I'm-
deed
I'm-
restriction, and a matter of fact, the
Yeah.
planning board already has done that in their decision.
Uh-huh.
As a matter of fact, the senior residential development bylaw stipulates that they have to be two-bedroom units, so that's been the plan right at the beginning, and it has a condition of their approval is.
And this technology, as it were, makes it clear that this is as far as it can go anyway, right?
Correct, you couldn't expand, we're not adding any more capacity in here than we need.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no expansion of capacity in the system. So, Good question.
I understand they go for 175,000, two-bedroom?
175,000?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Is that your price? Is that what
No,
you're getting?
that's what I heard.
I'm not sure.
Planning board is okay with all of this? You've all.
Planning board has issued their decision about 3 weeks ago. They filed it with the town clerk, and that was for it was a consolidated decision that had the site plan approval, the aquifer and watershed special permit, which incidentally is the reason we needed an aquifer and watershed permit was the same reason as we're here for you today. So we not only proposed a treatment system to sort of for your board, but it was also as part of their special permit process too, that we had that in there. And then there's one other one, the senior residential special permit. That was all filed second to last week of April, so that's all taken care of.
Did you do Field's other project, their other shared system,
Cooper?
Cooper?
I did not.
You did
no.
not?
No,
Okay.
different person.
And, yeah, my question was about the deed restrictions, and the people, the biomicrobics?
Yes.
Are they gonna be the ones that are gonna, or are they the ones that are gonna be monitoring the system?
There's a few people that are licensed to do it. We haven't selected one yet. I think J&R Sales and Service is the folks locally. I think they're out of Raynham.
Rainham, yeah, because that's what I
Yeah.
noticed, these guys were from Kansas.
Right. So the company, the parent company that does the technology, that makes the stuff is Kansas. The folks that supply it locally and service it are J&R Sales and Service. It will likely be them, but there are a few other folks that could do it locally, like I think you might even be able to do like small water systems for locally here in Littleton. Has a wastewater component. They could. So I'm just not sure what the which way my client will go with that, but it'll have to be someone that's licensed by the company to do that work.
Okay. Do you want to read Jim's notes?
Sure, I'd be very
Any other
happy to read
questions, please?
Jim's notes.
No, I don't have any questions.
No?
Okay.
All set, everyone?
Yep.
Okay. The applicant is looking to construct a multi-unit project on the site, 17 to 2-bedroom units, 17 two-bedroom units. The site lies in the town's aquifer protection and water resource districts, which by our local regulations, number 10, would limit the sewage flows on the site to 6 gallons per 1,000 square feet of land area. Based on the lot size of this parcel, 192,099 square feet, your regulations would allow the discharge of 1,152 gallons per day, and the applicant is proposing 3,740 gallons per day. Since the site is not in a nitrogen-sensitive area, there are no Title V restrictions on discharge. The applicant is proposing the use of treatment technology approved by the Department of Environmental Protection to reduce the organic strength and nitrogen level of the wastewater before it is discharged to the ground. The Department of Environmental Protection approval mandates a series of conditions: regular operation and maintenance by a licensed wastewater operator and effluent testing to ensure proper function of the system. The anticipated reductions in the strength and nitrate levels are significant, and it's recommended that we look at the attached letter from the technology provider. The proposed project would require a variance from the town's regulation number 10. The proposed system, with properly operated and maintained treatment, should allow for the increased density on the site without significant degradation of the groundwater. And if we grant the above-mentioned variance, it is recommended that the following conditions be met. 1, throughout the life of the sewage disposal system, the treatment system must be able to achieve the discharge limits presented with the design. The applicant/owner shall make adjustments to the treatment system or add treatment equipment as needed. I'm emphasizing that point.
That's all.
Okay.
Yep.
And number 2, since the proposed units are restricted to 2 bedrooms but not age-restricted, it is recommended no finished attic spaces or basements be allowed in the units.
Phew, you didn't say anything that I wasn't.
But
What were
you're,
you looking
you're
for?
just,
Anything contrary to
you're,
us.
you're designing it, you're not maintaining it. There's another
Correct.
company that's
Would they-
maintaining it.
Yes, there'd be a company that would,
Yeah.
you know.
So
that's
can
all
we
the-
put something on the deed about no finished attics, or?
I think that's going to be outside of our purview, though. That would be someone else, I would
That's
think.
somebody else's problem,
Yep.
not to worry.
No, we do it.
You design it,
Finished
that's it.
basements and, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the finished basements isn't a problem because we're proposing
On slabs.
slabs. I don't believe
The
we're proposing any
attics.
So we
attics.
do deed restrictions here.
Yeah, and the master deed will will be the deed restriction for the project. It'll deed restrict each unit to maximum 2 bedrooms, so
And they have no basement.
no basement.
It's just a slab.
What else you want?
Yeah, we actually had some, I think in the units in the 30-unit layout had an up loft, and it was requested that we take that out and only provide single-floor units. Again, we're targeting the over 55
Are they
age in
one
place.
level, or
They're
they-
just one level.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one level, I make it easy.
So I don't believe there's any problem with a finished attic, no finished attic condition. So I think that's in your right to do. But I'll leave that up to you.
Well, there's only 4 members here, and just entertain a motion. What do you feel?
I'll move that the King Street OSD project be, with its associated variances, be approved as listed.
It's up to the rest of the board here. Any comment from you two, young lady?
I'd like to make sure that that finished attic deed restriction is in it too.
I second that deed restriction.
So I'd suggest, if you want to do that, that you have a condition in the permit that requires that that be in the master deed, because I think that would be the mechanism to ensure that would be the case.
Want to rephrase it and make sure she types that thing in? Want to rephrase it?
So I'll make a motion to approve the plan with an addition of a deed restriction that there be no finished attics.
Approve the variance,
Approve the
Approve the
variance.
variance.
number 10.
Yep,
With
for
the deed restriction of no finished attic.
Variance number 10 for the deed restriction with no finished attics for the King Street development.
Okay. Here,
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good luck. Perfect, right on time. 7:40.
Around, we don't fool around.
Fort Pond Hill, Fort
Ar-
Pond
Arwood.
Hill.
Yes.
Good evening. Did you sign in?
John Beal, representing the owner.
Thank
Those
you.
are the green cards,
Yep, thank you.
mailings.
Do we have anything from Jim on this?
Yes, we do.
Comment on this?
I don't see any comments.
Well, I read the last one.
Right
You
from
you
King,
read
it went right from King Street to Harwood Ave.
That's correct. I don't have any comments.
This is Fort Pond Road.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't know why.
Oversight.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
I
it's on
bet
seven.
he's got King Street listed as an OSD project, which,
Want me to call, shoot
You
him
are
an
correct.
email?
I'm sorry.
I mean, a text.
We just, have you guys talked to Jim?
I don't
Have you
have
met
it.
with Jim? Okay.
So,
I don't have it.
No, we don't have it.
we don't have it.
Yeah, we don't have Jim's comments.
sorry.
So I'll give you some history. So
Okay.
this house was originally built, permitted and built in 2006. The septic system was installed, substantially completed in 2007. The house was never occupied. The owner failed to receive any of the certificates of Conservation Commission order conditions, planning board special permit, conditions for the shared driveway, obviously the board of health, disposal works construction completion, and the building permit. The building permit expired several times. I believe this permit.
So is it just land? What you
The
have?
house is-
Oh.
the house-
House was built.
House has been standing.
I'm the
since
new
2000.
owner. I'm not the
Yeah,
owner he's
yeah.
talking about. Just yeah.
The previous owner failed to complete any of the requirements.
Huh,
So you're seeing us tonight
Waste of
for
money.
Yeah.
a new disposal works construction permit as well as two variances. Or two waivers from the
I was just trying to-
the regulations. The system was completed as shown on the plan substantially, but not signed off. The system relies on fill easements over the lot lines on both sides on land that was previously Lot 7 and Lot 4. The original permit, the original disposal works construction permit incorporated fill over the lot lines with the benefit of the fill easement. The system was also installed with a septic tank and a pump chamber. So the waivers that we're seeking are fill to within 10 feet of the lot line, and also a waiver from the two-compartment septic tank requirement. Jim has been to the site several times. He most recently was going to go out sometime between when we corresponded by email mid-last week and this week. Jim had some, he sent me, he actually sent the owner an email back when this plan was submitted in November, October. He wanted to ensure that the system hadn't settled, so prior to issuing a certificate, he wanted to go out to the site to inspect the septic tank, pump chamber, the effluent filter in the septic tank, the pump cycle, the pump system, the D-box, and the inlet and outlet ends of each of the laterals. So I think part of the permit's conditions would be that the ends and the beginnings of each lateral would be exposed, as well as the D-box, the pump chamber and septic tank. He also had a question about some fill along this corner. When I went back last fall to do a topo survey, this area was so thick that I really couldn't get in here and do it. But since then, the owner has
Yeah.
cleared it out, and it's now accessible. part of the certificate, my as-built will include spot grades to ensure that the system is compliant in terms of its slope and its fill.
Well, I'm sorry to disturb you, but I think we should continue this because I don't have anything from Jim.
I know he was, staying up to date on it, but I'm trying to reach him, and I know he's not answering.
Okay, the
Is
question.
there someone that occupies this lot right here?
Yeah, this house is occupied, built by a different builder, and this house way up here is occupied.
And you said you had a fill easement, but you still want a variance to go
No,
within 10 feet?
Yes, the fill easement granted us permission to install fill over the lot line onto the other lot.
That was the original
That was the
system?
original septic system, the original permit. I have a copy of the deed, if that's,
So are you salvaging any of it, or is it a brand-new system?
the whole, no. Everything is existing, with the exception of risers that were put on the tanks to comply with Title V. Title V
That's right.
requirements.
There's a copy right here.
Oh, where'd that come from?
They come with this, but from you,
Oh, yeah.
okay? But
Sorry.
I don't have any.
Yeah.
The question that we can say that we heard you, right? In one condition, that we heard him, and the board find no problem. The question is, if Jimmy says that he has no problem, he will issue the permit. Very simple.
You can,
Continue.
you can sit on it and see if we can,
No.
Approve it and make it a condition that
we can
if,
try and wait and see if he responds while we listen to some
Okay.
other public hearings, if you have time to wait and see if he comes
I
back
can wait
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can wait, okay?
If you
So
wanna do
it-
that.
Okay, so we heard everything. I'm sorry, board, but this is very important.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't have any information, and I agree with the gentleman, and I'm sorry to make you wait.
No, that's
but,
all right.
In the meantime, because I know he's always busy on Tuesday.
He's got his Boy Scouts, but I'll go out, I'll
Yeah,
step out and
go
try and
ahead.
call him.
And if you don't mind, you already expressed your point. I don't think we have any problem.
okay.
You sit down over there, and we got the next gentleman. And when he has a call, if he says, "I seen it," because he must have seen it, right?
I'm hoping so.
Okay.
He's had it for some time.
Yeah. And we just tell him that that you're here. And you show us the plan and everything's fine. Only we need the okay from him, so, because we don't sign permit.
Are there any butters here?
I don't think so,
No.
no. We just like to continue, and while you're waiting,
Okay.
yeah, and then you come back here.
Thank you.
Sorry you have to do this, but
Yeah.
can't make him wait. Okay, now I think we have
Yep, 750,
7, what is it then?
750, 275 Harwood Ave.
Yeah. You,
Yes.
come.
Ready?
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't follow.
Me up here.
Are you the same? too?
I'm the owner.
Yep.
Oh, okay. We let you sit down,
That's out of-
but if you need to speak, he has to stop, and then you direct to the chairman. Okay?
did you both have signed in?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. I'll be quiet.
No, you have the right to speak if you have, but you have to direct to the chairman. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, Jeff Hannaford, representing the applicant, Greg Chernoff, for an upgrade to a failed septic system at 275 Howard Ave. The existing system now is to the rear of the dwelling. We're staying in the same general area. The septic tank is right behind the house. That's going to be abandoned and upgraded to a new two-compartment 1,500-gallon tank per the regulations. A new leach field. The existing leach field is shown in this location. It's actually located perpendicular to the contours, which I don't know what may have been filled and not filled back in the day, but today, I wouldn't orient it that way. I'd want to turn it parallel to the contours. It makes more sense when you need fill. So the new leach field is shown in this area. There's an existing barn outbuilding here, and the dwelling is served by town water.
Okay.
Based on the soil testing, we had a 3 to 3.5 foot water table to deal with.
Okay.
So what we chose was a Presby EnviroSeptic leach field. On septic repairs, it offers a couple of different advantages over other systems. One is it's the only leach field that's allowed on a slope.
Okay.
And again, getting back to the contours, we're sloping down to approximately 3 feet from one side of the system to the other. If we were installing a more conventional type leach field with a level bottom, you would measure your offset to groundwater at the highest point, and then it would be level from there. And because it drops off 3 feet, you'd have a 3-foot difference automatically on the far side, which would add considerably more fill on the downslope end. So we chose it for that reason, as well as the DEP approval for repairs allows for a 2-foot offset to groundwater. When I compared the elevations of the D box, actually, because that's my first point to connect from the tank, when I checked the elevations versus the elevation coming out of the house going into the new tank, if I had to maintain a 4-foot offset with a conventional system, I'd have to pump it to get it there. By utilizing this one, it can be gravity fed. We have just enough pitch to...
Save a lot of time, a lot of money.
Right. And again, with the sloping bed, we were able to maintain the 10-foot offset. There is some fill still for this system. We maintain the 10-foot offset on the fill, and for the local requirement, we also maintain a 10-foot offset to the
You got a nice piece of
garage.
property,
Yeah.
almost over 265 feet, and over there. Okay.
So it's an existing house, or
Yeah.
just a new septic upgrade?
New septic, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They were proactive. Their intent is to sell. I met Greg and his wife late last year and went over
And he wants
the
to buy it.
process.
He wants to buy it.
My own.
I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls and people wait to do their Title V inspection,
Yeah, yeah.
and they've already got it on the market, they've already accepted an offer,
Yeah.
and they don't realize how long it takes to go through the process.
Oh, sure.
So they're being proactive whenever it stops raining and it's going to be a good time to install, they'll get it
Let
done.
me read you what the inspector said.
Sure.
The existing sewage system for this site is on a seasonal high water table and therefore in failure. The applicant is looking to replace the system, and soil testing was conducted in preparation of plan for a replacement sewage disposable system. The site condition present challenge the design of a system in full compliance with Title V, seasonal high water table and high perk rate. The design presented to the Board of Health require local upgrade approval, reduction of the groundwater offset to the bottom of the leaching area, and the use of seized analysis in lieu of a perk test. The request will allow the proposal system to fit on the site and maintain the necessary fill on the site. The site is served by the town water, and there is no wetland within 100 feet of the proposed leaching area. I believe the proposal design provide a reasonable solution for the site, and I don't have any issue with the request. You happy I read the whole thing?
Yes.
You happy now?
Yes, very.
No comment.
Smarter clients.
It's nice of you to come anyway. It's good that you came.
Yes.
Okay, you read the engineer here, and you read that Jimmy comment, okay, I entertain a
Questions?
a
No,
motion.
this is crystal clear. I'll make a motion that we accept the plan and variances required.
And the stamps, would you tell us the stamp date?
The stamp was dated. today.
1800?
The latest revision is 5/13. That was yesterday, based on one of Jim's comments. He
See?
called me.
Not bad.
Great.
Now you
I
can,
second. Do we second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Now you can leave with a smile in your face.
Now, if only you could do something about the rain.
You have a good day. Thank you for coming.
I don't need that.
Thank you.
Jim wanted to bring it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a copy of the survey plan.
Okay. We wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Okay, now we are, yeah. Hold on.
I have 5 minutes. You want to sign some permits?
Any word from Jim?
I left him a voicemail too, so I'm waiting.
There is water in case you need, there's water there. Refresh yourself, be patient.
Keep hydrated.
You got two conditions. You can wait, you get an answer. If you don't, I'll let the board make a decision, and if he agree, or we can continue. I think it's better if we get an answer right now,
I think,
Yeah.
it'd be better for.
okay? So you don't have to come back. So we'll see what happens. Can we help you, sir?
No, I'm the proposed buyer for the project. I'm just trying to see this through. I'm on
Oh, you're very quiet, huh? Wow, you zip.
it's been almost a year now.
It's been almost a year since I bought it. We're trying to fix everything in that house, starting from electrical,
I understand.
stairs,
That is so weird.
ventilation,
It's a lot
everything,
lot of work,
everything in there. It was, I didn't expect any of it.
yes.
It's supposed to be a brand new house, but
My father used
we're
to
almost there. This is it.
Well, while we're waiting for, if he ever appears, we don't know what your timeline,
he signed check,
yeah.
he signed some, I thought it was checks for me,
Been
no?
sworn in and everything?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't have
I
any
wouldn't
checks, just
show
the
up for
permit.
this.
I know, but there was some question whether or not you'd be able to or not.
You can also vote on minutes if you guys have any.
What we usually like to make sure is that they.
I believe it, we did pretty
Because
good.
if we've got some issues, you want to make sure that the bedroom count is what they talked about. This is a plan that didn't have any variances, so it's usually just they sign it.
Okay, so when, this is an old one, right, that I have never seen before,
Right.
right? I have to
No,
be-
no.
Yeah, so I have to be very careful about it,
Right.
you know, I don't want to mess you
Well,
guys up.
no, but this is one that didn't have any variances.
Okay,
It was a
so it's okay.
straightforward, so if you haven't seen it, that's the thing, is you kind of have to remember
Yeah,
what we've
okay.
listened, what we've processed, so.
Okay.
We don't have anything from tonight to sign, right?
Two, they're
Okay,
coming,
so
George
we can
Street
show,
and,
and show Mike.
mhm.
I didn't sign that one.
You just need it?
Not that one.
Okay, right.
So this is also one that
Looking at
didn't have any,
anything, oh, this is another George Street.
This
huh?
is, we did this tonight.
It's for existing,
Yeah, they were-
yeah.
premise for the existing.
Here's, you have the pump and the arm required inspection.
Yep.
Would you mind signing in,
No
please?
variances or anything like that, so we,
Okay.
so this is, this was George Street.
Yeah.
That we just heard, so we just want to make sure that it says, that's always typed out.
Mm-hmm.
So if
You
have
haven't
no-
approved it yet.
Because I reread it.
You have to approve them tonight.
Groundwater upset, set
Yeah.
analysis, all conditions of the
King
DEP
Street
approval
wasn't
of
one of
Presby
those,
system must be submitted prior to issuances. And this is what we just did on Harwood, 5 bedrooms.
Oh, okay. It comes quick. Poor guy.
5
Hate to make people wait. Don't you?
It's Harwood, right?
Yep. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. We can go.
Pass this down to the.
Start now.
Thank you.
So 8 o'clock, public hearing for tobacco regulations. You ready, Joan?
Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I wasn't sure, I have some handouts for the board. You didn't print anything, did you?
We've got the
I
map.
didn't print them, I
already
just
have
sent them by email.
Okay.
I've got a map, I don't need the map.
Oh, I did
Okay,
print
well, I
them.
didn't know if you want a color one.
No.
Yeah, I like color. I like color.
I'll leave one for you to
I
have
like little
in
kid.
your office files. So I do have it out in color, just so you can see your others. I wasn't sure if everybody has the color coded, because this is what,
No, I don't
you know,
have
you
it.
had your hearing, and this is the top sheet that went, I didn't copy everybody a new draft, because everybody got the draft.
Yeah, we haven't discussed this, we haven't had a meeting since you were here the last time.
Right, so this is, you know, the summary of what happened at the hearing, and
Yep.
what do you want to do with the sections in blue? Everything in black you already have.
Yep.
So in blue, we have to kind of discuss if you wanted to move forward. And then I did do a printout, I don't know if anybody needs one, of the summary that I sent you for the hearing.
Yep, we have it.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Everybody has it? Does Kevin need one?
He's not here now.
Thank you. So, you know, so just,
I don't think I have it.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So these were just kind of a summary of what I wanted to bring forward from, you know, as your tobacco agent, my perspective, and then just move forward with whatever questions, concerns you have. And, you know, usually at this point, if there's more information that you need, I'll go out and seek it for you. Or you can go down like blue section by blue section to decide, you know, what do you want to move forward with? Are you ready to move forward? Or do you want some more information or more time?
My question would be like, is flavor in place? What kind of a flavor they're talking about?
Flavor in place means flavor restriction, so the exact same thing that you're talking about in this regulation.
Right.
Everybody in red around you already has had it in place since anywhere as early. Concord had it, was one of the first to do it, and they did it at the end of 2013 with a January 2014 implementation date, and then since then, all these towns in there have passed it. So I was trying to show you
Yeah, yeah.
what you're looking at.
Littleton.
Everybody in red is already implemented very successfully in their communities.
So actively working to pass flavor.
So that means the blue is Littleton, Acton, Berlin, Barry, Rawson. They're looking at this draft and discussing it in meetings just like you have, and they're setting public hearings. Rawson already set a public hearing. Barry has come up with their draft, and they're setting a public hearing at their next meeting. Acton is not funded. They're an unfunded, so they don't have a tobacco control person to help them along, but they still have access to DJ Wilson
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Cheryl Sabaro, who came, DJ had come and helped this board. And I spoke with their director, and I have her name down in the notice, Cheryl Ball, and she said that they've already had several meetings reviewing the draft, and they're getting ready to go to public hearing. So I'm just showing you your neighbors who have already passed this
Yeah,
successfully.
should we go to public again?
No, because you
Yeah.
already had public hearing, you also had an open written comment
Right,
period,
right.
and every tobacco retailer was hand-delivered and signed that they received the public notice in the draft, so they had the
Right.
opportunity to give input. We have 9 tobacco retailers in Littleton, and from what I could see when we were here,
Yeah.
and looking at the sign-in sheet,
Yeah.
two retailers
Yeah.
came.
Mr. Archer's here still.
Yeah, yeah,
How are
2
you?
retailers came and spoke. Several of the other retailers have second stores and third stores in other communities that have already passed that. So there may have been, you know, why they didn't give input, why they didn't come forward. You know, they just said, oh yeah, we're used to this. I have a store in this town and I have another store in that town. They've been doing it for a while. So, you know, that's one of the things. Everybody was delivered everybody was delivered, and somebody in the store signed for every single store. So in addition to your public notice, we went above and beyond to make sure everybody who sold tobacco in the community had a copy of what you were proposing.
Right.
And I didn't know, you weren't here. Did anybody submit anything into written comment?
There was just one in favor. Let me see, this one,
So there was.
which I had submitted in the comments last, what is this? So April
I think we
19th,
said we have implemented the same
2019.
flavor restriction with Concord. So So they have already implemented
don't know.
restriction as
John.
in Concord?
I don't know if you
Yes.
can see who that's
In any of the
from.
red towns.
It's
Right,
already in
right.
place.
Okay, so this is, okay, so this is from Mary Cole, Tobacco-Free Community Partnership, and Littleton is in her service area. So she wrote you a letter in support, so it will get entered into the minutes that a letter came from the community partnership that they
And I
support.
put this in your packets last meeting.
Okay. So there was no tobacco merchants that wrote letters.
Yeah, again,
So they didn't write letters for or against it.
yeah, yeah.
So, and you're asking me this, yes, everybody in this map in red has already passed this flavor restriction successfully with very little problems.
Right.
And then, at the, it appeared to me that at the biggest concern of the two retailers that were present was moving forward with if you decided to restrict flavor or not. That their preference was that you did not move forward with the flavor restriction, but it, didn't seem like they had other concerns about too much more than the flavor. But, and then in the hearing, it's unclear, so when we get down to it, like, what do you feel about a cap? Because, a cap, do you want to cap it with a retiring cap, which your number remains the same and it goes down, or do you want to cap it as it is, and then that's your number, so if 2 close, you still have 2 available. Some communities cap at 1 or 2 more to allow for a little bit of growth, and then that's their solid number. I mean, you have options
But we
when
have
it comes.
9, you say we have 9, you say?
You have 9 retailers. You
Maybe
had
better
10,
to
you
cap
had
it
10,
for-
but Fallon's appears to be out of business, but we haven't gotten formal notice, but they appear to be out of business.
Wouldn't it be better to tap it, just keep those 9, that's it?
Yeah, you could cap it at 9.
Instead of to have any more?
Yeah, you could cap it at 9. So when you get to that section,
Yep.
so,
You want to start with number 1?
sure.
So this checklist that is on the cover sheet here,
Where to put it?
where is, back here, it doesn't match up.
Well,
You know what I mean, like,
well, this doesn't match for section. All this is in there, and everything in blue is in it. So your expanded definition, we would go to definition, and then in your definitions is tobacco. So, it's all in your regulation. These are the components. So if you agree to these things, that language that's in there that applies to those things stays in there. But when it comes to flavor, if you're doing flavor, you have to keep that in your opening, all the sections that apply to flavor in your statement of purpose. You have to keep all 9 definitions, and then you have to keep the section that actually says you restrict flavor in your reg. If you decide you don't want flavor, but you want to move forward with cigar pricing and wrap ban and different things, then half your statement of purpose would be removed, because we're going to remove the parts that talk about flavor, and we'd remove the 9 definitions that pertain to flavor, and then you'd remove the flavor section. So you have to tell me what do you want, and then I'll remove the language or keep the language based on what you want. And the stuff in black, like these are just the main points in the regs. These are the policy decisions in your regs. I didn't, we've already reviewed the draft, and you guys looked at the wording at several different meetings, and you came up with what you wanted to keep. So I do have my copy right here. So if you couldn't find something, I can tell you where it is.
Oh, okay.
we really haven't had a meeting that we've been able to talk amongst
about
ourselves.
anything.
Yeah, so, you don't have to make any decisions. There's no,
Yeah,
You can do that now.
okay.
yeah.
Well, in terms of, I'll start, because in terms of the discussion that we had on flavoring last time, I know it's our purview. I'm a healthcare provider. I don't smoke, I don't drink. But I think if a 21-year-old wants to smoke cherry-flavored tobacco, it's an adult, and they should be allowed to. So I don't know if we start with that. I'm not for changing that.
Right.
Right, so this is what I'm starting with, and you said, let's start with something, and then we might have to change everything if
Right,
we got to made all these changes, got down to flavor, and then we had to change back to definition. So
Right,
that's
like, if you
This
make
is
a
the-
motion on the flavor section and the board
But we're
votes
just
to pass it
discussing
or
because
not.
we just
Right.
we haven't had a chance as a
And we're
board
missing
to,
Kevin.
and we're, yeah, so we don't have.
So the key points about flavors, and I had already, I had brought in an earlier presentation to why flavors would be moved, and they're moving toward, like, for instance, all your marijuana is in a 21 and only store. They can't go in and buy a candy bar, a bag of chips, and I'm gonna go get a soda and my tobacco. So it gets rid of the youth modeling for the kids to start being attractive to the colored packaging and the cheap, the easy, attractive to get, that at a young age, they start seeing it at the eye
They're
level.
not gonna make any cookies, in other words, and sell it in the store, so anybody can buy it.
Right, right. So you don't ban it,
I hope.
you restrict it to an adult-only store. So someone can become in an adult-only store and sell tobacco, vaping, and tobacco vaping products only, and still sell flavor, and then your adults still have access to it. Or, you know, you take it out of the convenience stores and somebody doesn't choose that there's a big enough market in your community to open one. So, you know, it's not saying that an adult can't get the products. It's, and there's a big movement to move things into that store. Because right now, Juul, who's the #1 maker, in 4 years, they've made $18 billion promoting Juul. No other product in the world history has ever been able to make that much money that quickly. It's designed and geared toward kids. Juul is working with the FDA because they're being sued, and they're agreeing to, by a certain date, to remove all flavored Juul out of convenience stores and sell them in only adult stores only as a voluntary strike, so they don't end up with a master settlement like the tobacco industry did and have to pay out, like we get, I think we get $57 million for 30 years from the tobacco industry. I'm not exactly sure on that number. So Juul is already, who's the leading #1 person in selling the flavored vape, is making a preemptive strike to, hey, let's make a deal here instead of moving forward with these suits. How about if we agree to do this by this date? So in a way, that's what this regulation is doing. So any adult who enjoys Juul products, based on this agreement that whatever happens between the FDA and Juul, will have to go to an adult store only and buy it. So then you're taking it. But it still leaves your candy-flavored cigars, your strawberry margarita bubblegum. And if we were seeing 25-year-olds deciding to buy those products, or 30-year-olds starting out buying those products, we'd understand that. But what's happening is your 13, 14, 15-year-olds
They
are
will buy
becoming your 21, 22, 23-year-olds
And you're gonna
that are
anyway.
buying it. You know, I mean, you don't, so we hand it to them, or we say as public health professionals, we're
they-
like, you know, you gotta look at the public health
I
aspect of it.
totally understand, and I agree with that, but they're adults,
Yep.
you know, and it's their their choice.
Right,
So
right, except
they
for
can buy
compliance
alcohol,
checks
they
show
can
kids are
buy-
buying them.
They can buy alcohol-infused seltzer, you know, what is that teaching kids? Kids drink seltzer, but this alcohol, and I'm
Right.
off the track, but, you know,
But the problem is we're showing in state inspections, federal inspections, and local board of health inspections, merchants are selling it to the kids. So it's not an adult getting it. If adults were only ones getting it, we
Wait
wouldn't be
for you
doing
to-
it.
all right, well,
For the benefit, for my benefit, and I'll give you the background for my question, what are the known or unknown what are the health effects that are different in terms of frequency, penetration of flavor versus, shall we say, unflavored products? In other words, is it a marketing tool with the same effect, or has health effects beyond tobacco itself?
The flavored product, if you take a black and mild regular flavored cigar, or you take a black and mild grape bubblegum flavored cigar, your health impact is just as negative on both the products.
Right.
It's the seduction of to
No,
get
no,
the youth
I'm
to
with
do the
you.
grape.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's about
Yeah.
the youth using the products.
My experience, unfortunately, has gotten me involved in the development of pharmaceuticals for clinical management of cancer, and most of it has been, very frankly, the origin or the beginning of it, in addition to all the other insults that are delivered, is tobacco. And it's a major killer and a source of disease and incredible loss of revenue for the entire community. So anything that suppresses or eliminates tobacco from our population, I think, is absolutely necessary. I consider tobacco to be a health hazard on the order of any other health, broadly speaking, any other health hazard.
I agree, but so is alcohol, too. and-
Totally different.
Well, I know, but
It could be
still.
different. It can be very, very different in the sense that it's a known This one is known and is rather consistent in terms of what's effects are. Alcohol is a little bit more difficult. I'm not trying to get alcohol off the list. They have its own issues, but this one is.
And there's a lot of sanctions against selling to a minor, against the minor that's buying it. And if you go into a package store, it's very rare you see a child in there without an adult. But in convenience stores and corner stores, kids are all over the place, kids are everywhere, unsupervised, not with adults. Kids are working in these shops, so they sell to their friends, because there's a lot of really good retailers, they have no intention of selling to a minor, but then they have their store clerk who will put in the right birth date so the sale goes through to sell to their friends. So there's many different ways that kids in the convenience stores are accessing it, where that's not happening in a liquor store.
When you were here last time, that you did say that there weren't any, or very few violations of selling to minors. So I agree with Lisa that I don't have a problem with the flavors being sold in.
To an adult. To an adult. And you can't,
I mean, if the stores are doing what
if the stores are doing what they're doing, like Mr. Archer says he
Well, you have had
does.
state, federal, and local sales. In comparison to a Fitchburg, Mass., you guys are doing much better. But I didn't want to bring those stats to a public meeting and have a legal source saying who the stores are that are selling to minors. So I wouldn't say you don't have anybody in Littleton not selling to minors. There has been, in the last 36 months, sales to minors of these products. So
In those red ones.
no, well, in your town. There has been a couple of stores that have sold to a minor in the last 36 months in Littleton. So I can't say you have a better rate than some of the other Alliance towns. I'm not saying you have no problem.
Yeah.
But what we do have is a significant problem in your schools. Your schools have kids vaping in every corner. Every school in Neshoba has contacted me and asked me to help them write vaping policy. So when you get caught smoking in school, they can, under the smoke-free workplace law, issue a $100 ticket. As of January 1st, they can now do that with vaping. So all the schools are calling me in and asking me to help them writing vaping policies. And it's not just to the students. The janitor gets caught vaping, he gets a $100 ticket too. But majority of the kids getting the tickets are the schools. So the picture is very different in the school. Where are these kids getting all these flavored vapes? And flavored Juul and flavored electronic cigarettes.
The individual that has a store and has it, and he sells it only to adults, you cannot blame him if somebody else goes there and buys stuff to give it to the kids. You cannot blame the individual that sells it and say, look, you're not 21, I'm not going to give it to you.
Right. If stores were doing that, we wouldn't have to pass a policy.
No, I know, but I'm saying, corruption is everywhere, okay? We are human beings. People, if they can make a buck, they're going to make a buck, whether it's the law or against the law. But the question, we do have retail people, individual, in this town that are very reliable. If they have something and they sell it, they say, look, you're not 21, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell it to you. If he does sell it, we're not going to fine him, we're going to revoke his permit. That means he's not going to be able to sell anything, whether it's tobacco, flavor, or anything. So he has to be very responsible. And I'm sure that without him speaking, I recognize him, and his particular store, he will not give it to anybody unless he sees the license. If somebody else goes older and says, oh, I'm 25, I'm going to buy this flavor, and the guy says, okay, he's not responsible for that gentleman that bought it, will give it to the kids.
Right. That's not the social source that we're talking about. We're not talking about a legal person buying it and outside of an environment.
You're talking about the individual that sells it. Some of them are corrupt. They're corrupt because they want to make money or whatever.
I wouldn't say corrupt, because if you hire an employee and you trust them, and then they're putting in, a lot of these stores invest a lot of money on a scanning device where you have to put in a birthday.
Right.
Oh, here comes my friends from school. I'm going to put in a known birthday that's the register's going to look like I sold to a 21-year-old, but I really didn't.
But the question is, it comes to a time where they get caught and say, where did you get that? and they go to the source.
Right.
Well,
Do-
that guy, that individual
One of
should
the
be
things I
fired.
can collect for the board is, there's a risk behavior survey that the schools participate in, and they ask the students the questions, and the students are really honest in the survey, because they don't have to put their name on it. Where am I getting it? How am I getting it? Do I vape? How often do I vape? Where am I getting these products?
I can't believe it.
I can find out if I can get them from the Littleton students,
Why don't you do
the risk
speak to-
behavior survey. So it tells you what your Littleton youth are saying about how easily or not easily they can access. They might say, oh, we go to the next town over.
Right,
We
right,
can
right.
look at the
Right.
stats. But what we do see is that if you have a lot of people around you that have the flavor policy,
yeah, yeah.
it drives young people into your community, because now they know they can get it in your community.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what happened to Westminster. Westminster was the last to pass, and they started having a problem, and they started making more mistakes and had increased sales to minors and inspections, because the kids were like, okay, we can't get it in our town, but you can still buy these products 2 for $99 in Westminster. And so Westminster just
It's
recently
terrible.
joined
I'm sorry
and
to say
passed.
that.
Is the current draft you have, that we have already, including the blue and the black, I take it the blue includes stuff already in the draft, or being used by other local red areas?
Blue is new to you.
New-
Black is policies you already have.
Okay, I'm talking about the surrounding communities.
Oh, the surrounding communities. This is specific to you and your
Yeah, I got
current
that,
versus
yeah.
your old reg.
Yeah.
This is just showing you who reviewed the flavor draft and passed the flavor restriction.
Okay.
I could draw you a map on who's 21, I could color in the map on who has capping. This map is just flavor, and I didn't do maps on everything else because flavor was the main issue. So I'm assuming there's not really going to be a problem with changing the cigar pricing, or maybe a big problem with changing the wrap ban, or
Right,
doing
right.
some of the other sections, because the main contention of concern at the public hearing. But you only had 2 out of your 9 retailers come forward and say, you know, hey, I'd rather see you not do flavor. You have 7 others that have the same draft
And they
that
like
don't seem to have a problem with
Yeah, yeah,
it. So
No,
you got to
we
take
don't
a
know
look
that.
at. Well, people are pretty vocal.
Well, we
Um,
had more than, just a little over 500 people come to election the other night, so you just don't know if somebody just can't come that night when somebody
Well,
doesn't
that's why
show
we
up.
did they had 3 weeks to write a letter or send an email. If they can't make the hearing, if there's anything that concerns you here, please let the board know. So this is an addition, so they had 3 weeks to say, does this concern me? And like I said, the convenience business is set up now that majority of convenience store owners own more than one. And I think, you know, again, I'm not speaking for anybody. I'm telling you what everybody signed that they received it. I spoke to owners, managers, mostly. There was one store where the manager and owner wasn't there, and I spoke to the clerk only. But, you know, we do have a sheet that signed who signed for it for each store.
Did Mr. Archer have any questions or comments, or, I think we're just still talking and hashing.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Gary Archer, Archer from Wilmington. I just found out about this meeting today. I had Connie James call me and said, you know about the meeting tonight? And I said, you know what, I didn't know about it. And he said, I can't attend, I've got some other obligations. I had someone else call me the other day from another convenience store in town, so I didn't know about it. I don't know how they know about it, but they said they know about it, because you know what's happening. I kind of filled them in a little bit on what happened in your first meeting. I gotta step back for a minute. We've been in town a long time. I think some of you guys may know us. We don't sell to minors, period. I'm not gonna jeopardize my license. I'm not trying to make a living to sell to minors, especially when you say 13 years old. I have kids. I'm not selling to minors. If my kid wants it, he has to be over 21. My kids don't smoke. But I do not sell to minors. I will not sell to minors. I'm not gonna jeopardize. You said it. You summed it up. If we do it and we get caught, we're gonna lose a license. I can tell you, all my employees are 20 years of age and older. They're all on camera. I look at them closely, I vet everyone, and I really go through my candidates. And I explain to them, this is the law, this is what we're doing.
Right.
We're gonna abide by it. And we put our date of births in, and we do everything, but they are right on camera. I have cameras right on top of that register. And if I have a problem, I'm gonna address it. That's my job. But I don't have any violations. And I can promise you she's not gonna find a violation on me. And I don't know what the survey out there is, but it has nothing to do with Archer's Mobile.
But she's gonna try to find out in Littleton School where they purchase it.
Like I said earlier.
It'd be nice if we find out where. Would
You
be
can go
nice.
online and
Are
you
we-
can get it.
I exclude you
Right.
100%. But
You
she's trying to
just,
find out.
he just said something very interesting that ought to be heard. What did you just say about,
You,
if you could go online?
you go online and buy it, you can put a date of birth in. And they say, okay, and you're old enough, you go online, you go over a border. And when I say over the border, I'm saying over New Hampshire or another state. And you can get the item there. They're gonna get it, but they're not gonna get it through me. I can promise you that.
So one place or the other, they're gonna get it anyway.
So I'm just saying that they're, like you said, an adult, 20 years of age, how can you stop them? What's next? Is a beer? You can't buy Bud Light Lime because it's a flavor. You can't buy, start thinking, and then when we talk about adult-only stores, well, what's gonna happen then? The adult-only store's gonna get going, they're gonna say, yeah, we're selling the tobacco or whatever the flavor may be. You know what? Our customers really, really would enjoy a water in the community. They just need their water. Oh, okay, well, let's let that happen. We'll let you have some water. You know what? I'd like to have some chewing gum, you know, or maybe just a granola bar. You know what? Okay, we're going to let you have that. Next thing you know, they're a huge convenience store, adult-only convenience store. Where does it stop? That's all I'm saying. And like I said before, I've been in town a long time. We'll buy by anything the board goes by, but that's just how I feel. And I think there's a couple of people in town that feel the same way. And we'll do what the board asks to do, but we hope you will look at number 9
I
closely.
understand that.
Yeah,
We
and we're still
understand.
talking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to clarify, an adult-only store can sell tobacco, vape, and tobacco and vape-related products, period. They cannot sell, when they're set up, they have to get a DOR license that says that they're an adult-only store. There's different federal standards to them, and they can't sell Yankee Candle, lottery. They can't sell coffee cups, T-shirts. They have to sell, so they're not going to be able to slip in, and that's kind of the trade-off. The convenience stores can't sell the candy fruit flavors, but they can continue to sell the traditional cigarettes and pipe tobacco and things that they sold all along. But on the other end, the adult shops are not allowed to sell anything else that's sold in a convenience shop that isn't directly related to vape or tobacco use. So, you know, that I just wanted to, you know,
No, I understand.
so people understand when we say, oh, an adult only, someone can't just go, oh, I'm an adult only. And in that federal standard is dad with a baby in a backpack can't come in, mom with a kid in a stroller can't come in, cool mom with a 12-year-old, 15-year-old, or a 17-year-old I'm going to buy for my teenager, they can't come in either. That at that door, there has to be a buzzer or a system that stops them from entering the store, because it's a federal, if you're an adult-only store, the federal inspectors will say, if the minor makes it 3 steps in your door and you even ask them to leave because you know that they're not old enough, it's still considered a youth violation. So it's a little bit more not like anyone can just go, okay, I'm going to be an adult one now, and then still continue business as usual.
Is Juul vape, is that considered vape?
Yes, it's an electronic cigarette. They're all...
So is it can be sold only in vape stores in Massachusetts, or?
No, right now, it can be sold everywhere in every flavor, but in all these towns that restrict flavor, Juul can only sell mint, menthol, or plain. What Juul is doing is they're being sued. The FDA came in, they seized all their records, they wanted to seize how they're making the Juul and all that, and nicotine content. So now there's 3 lawsuits against Juul. So as part of settlement discussions, Juul is offering to stop selling it
I
in
thought they did
convenience.
that before the FDA took them.
No, it's part of the negotiation. It hasn't been implemented yet. So it made the news, but it isn't implemented yet. It's part of their negotiations because there's 3 different lawsuits. And 2 of the lawsuits are really focused on the amount of nicotine. If there's 59 milligrams of nicotine in 1 Juul cartridge, which is equivalent to 20 cigarettes, and cigarettes have 20 to 30, depending on the brand. So it's double the nicotine, and they're selling nicotine addiction through flavors.
Oh, my God.
That's basically what it
It
is.
is,
This isn't
yeah,
about,
that's-
they're selling nicotine addiction, and that's what's, part of the cancer
Unlike
causing.
alcohol, nicotine is universal in terms of.
Yeah,
it's addictive.
it's cancer causing. In less than 3 uses, you can become addicted to the nicotine. So, just trying it 3 times can put you very susceptible at being addicted. There's a very big difference when you're selling nicotine addiction. It's not the same thing as, it's not even the same thing as saying, I would like cherry flavored vodka. It's not the same thing.
Nicotine is devil. I don't know why the state or the federal doesn't.
Okay, so what do you
That
suggest, that we
implement-
start doing one at a time, or just discussing? I
You
know we
you
don't have a-
you
we don't-
are missing a board member, so I don't know, and you're obviously not going to vote tonight.
Right.
So what I'd like to know is, here, like, what questions did you have? You know, there's obviously more questions as why flavor? And, there's a few documents that we can refresh ourselves with that I'll send for that.
Right, flavor.
And you can choose not to do flavor and move, it's still a upgrade, important to look at the cigar pricing and to look at the blunt wrap ban and to look at some of these other things, to cap, not, 500 feet from a school, that's the law. So even though you don't have it, we have to enforce that. So if somebody was going to open up 500 feet from the school as your tobacco agent, I'd have to tell you, you can't issue that permit based on state law. But that only happened as of January 1st, so.
Okay. We
Capping
can't-
the number of
We can't vote
permits.
on anything because we don't have,
Right.
can we vote on? Yeah, because we've got a majority.
Well, you still can, but if you still
But
have.
things like bans, we
Yeah,
can
he
vote,
can vote.
we could vote on that and knock that off.
Okay.
Yeah, or, I mean, it's kind of, I would rather get you some more information and wait for the fifth member and
Okay.
get questions and concerns that you have, because if these aren't really bones of contention, it doesn't really matter if you vote on it tonight or you vote on it in one meeting, but if you have a motion that votes on a piece of it tonight and then a piece of it at your next
Yep.
meeting, and then you're trying to figure out an implementation date, it makes it hard for people to follow the voting trail.
Okay.
So it's fine to say we don't have problems, we'd like to keep this in the draft, but you're still calling it a draft till you're ready to vote on it as a whole.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I'd ask, in terms of prohibiting the blunt wraps, is there concerns there for the board? Is there, capping? We could have a discussion on where people think capping should go.
I don't know, I think capping it at the number that we have is just fine at 9.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. So you're not looking for any more information on that? No new permit renewal if there's 3 sales to a minor. And then you'd look at that section, it's usually, if there's three sales to a minor in your tolling period, then you would be like, okay, we're not gonna renew your permit for the next year.
It hurts everybody else in the business, I would suggest, so, yeah, good idea.
Okay. I will say this, that's an easy one to put in the regs, because I don't feel that there's any fear of Littleton having a retailer that would get to the 3rd sale. You have other things in place, like permit suspension for the 2nd sale, things like that. We don't really see a lot of repeat violators in Littleton. And then some of these other sections, until, like expanded definition and things like that, that's, you don't even need to discuss that until you've got to discuss the flavor first, because those are the side sections that go
Okay.
with the flavor. And then the cessation sign requirement, this is a state sign that came out, and we're asking, the State Department of Public Health has asked boards to put it in. It's the quit line, and the space behind the counter for a retailer is so small and so little, we don't require them to put it behind, but if they're selling tobacco and you put it in your local reg, we give them a free sign and say, you just have to post this somewhere visible in your store. No retailer has any problem posting it, but we're very aware of how little space they have and how premium that space is behind the counter to catch the customer's eye. So that it's really not I don't see why anybody would have a problem with it. No merchant has had a problem with it in other communities that have passed that. But that's what the cessation sign is, and it's just the 1-800 state quit line, and people can call there and get up to a month of the nicotine patch for free.
Just to back up for a minute, is number 9 specifically for flavors? Is that the
Yes.
one? Okay.
It's restricting the flavors
Yeah.
for 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then number 16, it's already against the law federally for non-residential roll-your-own machines. It's still in there. They keep it in there as a support. There's only a few places that had them in the beginning. And a roll your own does not mean, convenience stores can still sell, there's at-home tabletop roll your own, so convenience stores can still sell those. What these were big machines, and people could go, okay, I'm gonna pick this loose tobacco, and then they would pour the tobacco in and just roll it. And it was kind of like alarming, like when salad bars first came out, boards of health didn't know what to do with them. They were just out there, and then all of a sudden we went, oh, wait a minute, people can touch it, people can sneeze on this. And then all of a sudden regulations went into place. That's kind of how roll your own were. People could, just come in and put anything out of their pockets into these machines, and they just go buy their tobacco at the counter, go over and start rolling their own, and it was a cheaper way to sell tobacco. But then the federal government stepped in and said, oh no, you're now manufacturing cigarettes in your store. We want a manufacturing license from you. And they came out real quick and they went away real quick. It's still in here in the draft. It doesn't hurt anything, and Littleton was never in danger of somebody picking Littleton to do one. Banning sales in healthcare institutions, that addresses pharmacies, but now, there is a state law that went in place as of January 1st this year saying that. So if you have a pharmacy, they want you to keep it in your local regs, because if you have a pharmacy that's selling tobacco, then you can address it locally. But we're not that's, this draft was before the law passed for January 1st. And then the sales and educations is if you have somebody that sets up a college or sets up something that there isn't a campus store that sells it, or they do something, oh, we're going to use this building as a satellite college, and they don't set up a campus snack shop that also sells cigarettes. Those are all,
Kind of no-brainers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just,
Looks like we're almost there.
yeah, and I think that it's let me see what I can find out, if I can get a hold of the risk behavior survey for Littleton High School students. And then, because what they do, even if you're a regionalized school, are you guys regionalized? Okay, so Littleton has their own high school?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because then it's easier to get the information. So I'll be in touch with the Littleton High School and see if I can get the risk behavior survey, and then I will pull the DPH stats on Littleton for the last 3 years, because they tracked all the sales. It will be a report that will tell you who's had a federal sale, who's had a local sale, and who's had a state sale. And it would also show other violations if there was somebody was selling something with DOR that had a New Hampshire stamp and they shouldn't have. These are things that don't get always reported out to the board, but they are in the state database that we can pull from.
And talking about the fines and suspensions, it says in the, this might be old, in the fining structure on page 3. Fining schemes remain 100, 200, or 300, but you talked about suspensions. Doesn't say anything about suspending license. Where is that?
I thought it was 2021.
I'd have to look in your old reg. Where are you on page 3?
The amendments to the state tobacco bylaw, page 3, on 3, fining structure.
Let me look. Can I see what you have, because that's not what I have.
That's just on top of my.
Oh, okay. This is for the state, because the state, permit suspensions is not in the state law. That's up to each local authority to determine what the permit suspensions are. So the state gives this is amendment to the law, that applies to everybody in your state. Permit suspensions are, what does Littleton want for permit suspensions, if any? What does Athol, Mass want for permit suspensions, if any, and whatnot? So that it's a local thing. So the state law isn't going to dictate what the permit suspensions are.
Okay.
So if you look at your current regulation, you have, if I looked in the draft correctly, I made the recommendation that you keep the fines and permit suspensions that you have in your current regulation. And I'm not sure, so.
Yeah, page 12. Upon review of your current reg, we recommend at least a 12-month tolling to a 36-month tolling with no increase in your fines and permit suspension sections. In the case of the first violation, a fine of at least $100. Okay, so the second, 36 months to the date of the current violation, a fine, okay.
Yeah, and yours, what I have here is for Littleton. I want to make sure I'm on Littleton. You have 2, 10, and 30, instead of going 7, 10, and 30. You have 2, 10, and 30.
Thank you.
2, 10, and 60, or 2, 30. Because I think I took out what was the state. The state recommendation was move it up to 7, 14, and 60. You have 2, 10, and 30. I recommend keeping it at 2, 10, and 30. We don't have a lot of permit suspensions, so there's no need to make it more punitive. So I recommend that you keep it, you know, I'd like to see you move to the 36 tolling. That's my recommendation, but keep your 2, 10, and 30, and not increase it to 7, 14, and 60.
10 and 30, huh?
So there'd be really no change. And if you decide to keep it at 24 months, that's, you know, I think right now you have 24. 36 is the standard. There's less and less funding with budget cuts, and we're doing less and less youth access checks. So we can end with a short tolling period, like 18, 24 months. You could have a repeat violator. It's just we don't have enough money to do enough inspections to address it. But in addition to the local board money, there is the federal government doing so many checks and the state doing a couple of checks, so. But you can't do anything, your authority doesn't, like, you can have knowledge of a federal inspection that's sold to a minor, and you can have knowledge of a state inspection that happened. The only thing you can do is, if somebody had a lot of state violations and federal violations at the before you renew their permit, you can call them in and say, you know, we're choosing not to renew you, or we want to have a discussion before we renew you, because you didn't sell in our 2 checks this year, but you sold in all the federal and state ones. You know, you still have something you can do, but you cannot apply your those sales to your tolling period.
Okay. All right.
So why don't we just study a little bit this thing, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll come back at your next meeting.
Wait for a full.
I'm gonna get you the flavor information, and then, you know, kind of the history of where we're at. And I'm gonna try to get a date from Acton to see when they're holding their public hearing.
Yeah. And see if there anything new coming up.
Okay.
So Joan, are you free to come back May 28th at 7:30?
Actually,
can.
I'm not.
Yeah, otherwise,
I will be in Athens, Greece.
Nice.
Been there before.
All right, so do we want to move it to the next meeting then?
Sure.
After May 28th? Let's see, which is 1, 2, so that would be June 11th. Are you free then, Joan?
I will be back,
Okay,
yes.
so June 11th. We'll make that June 11th at 7:30 PM.
did you get anything for Jim yet?
7:30?
7:30.
Littleton. Okay, and then I'll work on getting you that flavor information for,
That's part of the risk behavior.
yeah, the risk behavior survey specifically asks a lot of questions around vaping, tobacco use, the flavored products, and where are you getting that from a social source? Are you getting it from, you know, they ask a lot of questions, so I'll see if I can get it. And most schools, I'd be surprised if Littleton doesn't participate in it. Most schools do, but there are some schools that don't even participate in it at all.
Why?
But I'll look and see what the state has for stats, and specific to Littleton. And then, you know, and then we do have, there's a document out, it's double-sided, 1 page, that says, you know, what are the biggest risks of having flavored products in your community, and I'll bring that, I'll send that to you, and then move forward from there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Good.
All
Thanks
right.
for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thanks.
Anything?
I haven't heard from her.
Sorry we have
We
so
should
many
probably
problems.
continue it then.
So we can
Let's
do
get them, like,
May 28th at 7:20.
unbelievable. Why don't you?
We haven't heard
Make a
from them.
motion
Is there any
to,
way you could grant conditionally? We would accept the conditions. I'm pretty familiar with what is
What
required.
Jim will say about that?
I don't
Oh,
feel
you
I don't feel comfortable
I don't
making
either.
anything.
I would not want to move. I want
Yeah.
to put you in a position where we don't have the technical backing that you need, because if something slips, something, this way, the more technical eyes, the better. It protects you just as much as anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Well, I think, what I'm asking is that he will review it, and
He's probably already reviewed it, he just hasn't communicated to us what his thoughts are on we
Right.
we don't have any notes from him.
But
And
in the-
all we've seen is your address and a variance request, and that's all we've seen. So we don't even have other than your history that you told us tonight.
so would you require that notification be made and the butters be notified again, or?
No, we'll just
No, it's a-
continue it.
It's a continuation,
Yep,
right? Is that
continue
right?
it.
As soon as we
Make
have,
a motion, continue it to
Right.
7:20 on the 28th.
I'll motion to continue it to the 20, what'd you say?
okay? Unless,
28
May
at
28th,
7:20.
7:20.
7:28 on the 28th.
is any way,
I second.
excuse me, is any way if,
There's a motion on the
sorry,
floor.
1
No,
minute.
there's a motion on the
1 minute,
floor.
please. If they get in touch with, or you get in touch with Jim and you tell him the situation, can you call them and let them know?
Not if you're making this motion to continue.
We have a motion on the
Well,
floor.
one thing
Can we
is,
vote?
I don't know if you understand or not. When you're gonna be the chairman initiate the motion.
We have,
Okay, wait a minute. The chairman is the one that said, I entertain a motion. I didn't say anything about entertaining a motion yet, because I haven't finished to speak. As a courtesy, okay? As a friend, okay? You said you want to learn. Let's learn the right way. When you're going to be a chairman, we will submit your permission when you spoke, and everybody listened, and when you're done, then we can say, okay, we continue. Now, so you're writing down, okay, as a continuation of the, okay? The question, I feel bad because they have to wait so long, you know what I'm
I
saying?
understand.
It's too bad, but if he would have called, it would be a different story,
I know. I texted him and I left him a voice message. He
yeah.
didn't
But if he
respond.
does call you tomorrow, right, just tell him, now because he hasn't get in touch with you,
Right,
now we had no choice but to continue
correct.
okay, you understand that? I know you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't mean to be irresponsible here, but we're trying to make you understand that without his comment, we cannot entertain a motion to say, okay, you all done, you get your permit. But we have to continue. I'm sure you probably have no problem, but it's not much we can do.
We get delayed, that's the thing.
Okay.
We just get started.
I'm sorry that we had to do that. Now I entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to continue the discussion on 27 Fort Pond Hill Road until
May 28th.
May 28th at 7:20.
A second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, and I love you all.
Okay, so the last item is just the minutes of April 23rd.
Good night.
Good night. I don't know if I read those. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting April 23rd without exception.
Any
Oh.
second?
Second.
I don't believe I've read them.
Okay, you want to read them, we'll wait for you? We'll wait.
What was the date?
April 23rd.
Whoa, whoa,
You want me to give you mine?
that seems like it was a long time ago.
The email was a week ago?
I sent it
I
a week
know, I
after the
know.
meeting. Here
I
it is.
know,
Here,
Janet, I'm
have a
sorry.
Physical copy.
Yeah, we'll wait, no problem. Thank you for coming.
The other item that we could talk about is if you folks wanted to talk about shifting the time a little bit, because Lisa has a hard time getting here at 7 o'clock for work. So if we wanted to give her a little 15-minute window, or, and start at
We leave
7:15.
it up to her what she wants to do, you know. We give
I
her
don't-
Enough time?
15, half an hour.
Yeah, but I don't really, I mean, they block me off at 6:30. It's just sometimes my afternoon gets kind of crazy. So, but I was here for 7, right?
Yeah, you
I
were.
wasn't here
I
for
know,
quarter
but
of.
just to make things a little crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't matter as long as you are okay with repeating some of the stuff, you know, that I might miss.
Right.
I may not, but again, I've talked to you before, I can't look at emails and stuff
Right,
that
right.
come after 1 o'clock on Tuesdays, so.
Well, we'll make the decision next meeting.
okay, well, people can think about it.
Yeah. It's okay with you?
Yes.
You still love me?
No.
That's good. I'll tell your wife that. We gotta be very, 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 very diplomatic here. You know, don't you feel sorry if you were in
No,
this spot?
no.
Why?
No. Not at all.
No?
I'll explain to you why later.
Okay. Okay.
Sean Keenan spelled wrong.
Okay.
Make correction.
Scribble on their sheets.
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of printing like I ask, so it makes it hard to know how to spell their names.
You're right. That's why
They write their signatures instead of
you can't even read my signature.
instead of printing.
I print when I go someplace. Anyway,
Did, Did- did Kevin recuse himself from that Elm Road?
yeah,
Or was that the meeting before?
from the same date.
This was not, he recused himself from that one with that fancy new system.
I'll double check.
Okay, because it says it's voted 5-0 in favor, so if he recused himself, it was 4-0, so.
Right.
But I think he was here for that, I think he stayed.
Go back and look. He was fine with the draft,
Uh-huh.
so.
Okay, yep,
I
I'll,
got an okay from
Probably
him,
fine.
so.
all right, I'll agree,
But I'll go back and double check. Since I wasn't here,
all right,
I watched it on the tape.
all right, yep, we'll approve those.
So you seconding?
I'll second it,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
all right.
All right, thank
Are you going to make a
Need it?
motion? I read it, I don't need it.
Yeah. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
I may-
second.
Who made it?
Gino?
I say entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
I'll
move to
sec-
adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
thank you all.
Thank you so much.
thank
can
you.
Shut the TV for me, please. Everybody be happy.